My son's shocking plan at the bank was exposed when the manager discovered my hidden note. Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. At just 17, he was juggling school, a part-time job at the local diner, and the burden of watching his father slowly drown under a crushing wave of medical bills. His dad, a proud veteran, had once epitomized the American dream, standing tall and unyielding like the oak tree that shaded their front yard. But now, the light in his father's eyes had dulled, replacing hope with a shadow of despair. Jake's stomach churned every time the mailbox clanked open with another bill, reminders that their cherished family home was on shaky ground. In a fit of desperation, fueled by equal parts fear and determination, Jake devised a plan. The next day, he would visit the bank, convinced that if he could just secure a small loan, they could stave off foreclosure. With trembling hands, he poured his heart into a note, a plea written in the quietest moments of the night, revealing his father's sacrifices and their family legacy. He folded it carefully, his heart racing as he sneakily passed it to Mrs. Thompson, the bank manager and an old family friend. The note, their hopes resting on its fragile whispers, was now tucked away amid the intimidating forms that lined the bank's counter. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake's heart pounded as he left the bank, each step echoing a silent mantra of hope. But hope quickly twisted into dread when Mrs. Thompson, caught in the clutches of policy and scrutiny, discovered his hidden note. It knocked her off balance. Struck by the raw emotion, she found herself wrestling with a moral battle, a struggle of right and wrong in a community marred by inequality. The regulations screamed for compliance, yet the boy's vulnerability left a mark on her heart. And as murmurs filled the bank, news of Jake's situation began to ripple through their tight-knit town. Neighbors, once passers-by, suddenly remembered they were family, as if a dormant spirit had awoken within them. They gathered, moderate voices morphing into passionate bursts of support, fueled by whispers of sacrifice and the raw truth of standing together. Amid this surge of solidarity, Jake stood conflicted. The comforting warmth of the community's support danced like firelight, illuminating his fears of uncertainty. Could they truly make a difference? Was his family's legacy powerful enough to rewrite the narrative of their lives? As the tension thickened, hope warred with doubt, preparing Jake for the battle ahead. With everything hanging in the balance, he couldn't shake the looming questions. Would compassion break through the rigid world of finances, or was their fate already sealed in the unforgiving weight of policies? The tight knot in his chest tightened further as he realized this moment wasn't just about their home, but a defining crossroads for the community's very soul. Fear and uncertainty gripped Jake as the whispers of support wrapped around him and his father. Standing at the edge of the bank's parking lot, he felt half a world away from his once certain life. He could still see Mrs. Thompson's eyes, glistening with a mix of sympathy and resolve. But any hope he had of her helping them was now tinged with dread. "Did you hear what happened?" A voice from a small cluster of neighbors slid into his awareness. "I mean, poor Jake. His dad, after all those years. It just isn't right." A chorus of agreement followed, and Jake's heart swelled and sank all at once. He was grateful for their warmth, yet he wondered if their kindness could overcome the institutional walls he was now facing. Across town, his father, Mark, sat slumped in his favorite chair, the numbness spreading across his body like a long-ignored ache. The very bills that had once fueled his proud determination now haunted him. He had fought in battles that could have extinguished any man's spirit, but this fighting for his family felt different. The courage that had rallied him through his service seemed to melt away in the face of these relentless bills. "Dad," Jake started as he stepped through the front door, unable to finish his sentence. The weight of the moment pressed him down. He didn't want to add to his father's burdens, yet he felt he had to share the desperate hope he clutched in his hands. "I was at the bank today." Jake's voice was barely above a whisper. Mark didn't look up. He sighed heavily. "Anything good come of it?" Jake hesitated. How could he explain all that had unfolded? The community's support, its raw power to uplift, he was part of a wave now. "Well, Mrs. Thompson found something." "And found what?" Mark's voice cut through the air, sharper than he intended. "Dad, she found my note. The one I wrote about you and everything. The situation we're in." Jake's heart thudded like the pounding of a jackhammer, the truth hanging in the silence. For a moment, Mark sat rigid. "Why would you do that?" His voice trembled, not with rage but dread. "You know how the world works, how these banks operate. They don't care about feelings. They care about numbers. But they might care about us." Jake felt a rush of determination. "The whole town is talking about you, Dad. They're supporting us. What if there's a way? What if Mrs. Thompson helps?" Mark's brow furrowed. "You shouldn't rely on other people, son." The disappointment settled into Jake's heart, heaviness pooling there. "I just thought if we could show them Mom always said there's strength in community. Maybe we could turn this around together." Mark finally looked at him, and the weight of Jake's words hung there, suspended in the air between them. They both ached for something more than bills and despair. As the sun dipped below the horizon, streaks of orange and pink bleeding into the darkening sky, a shift began. Maybe they weren't facing this fight alone. Maybe Jake's stubborn optimism could carry them further than Mark had ever allowed himself to believe. But just then, there was a knock at the door. Jake's heart skipped. What if it was the bank? Or worse, the reality of their situation crashing down? Who could that be? Mark muttered, brows knitting in worry. Jake moved toward the door, anxiety fluttering in his stomach. As he opened it, the shadows of their lives danced behind him, waiting with bated breath. The person standing there could change everything. Would they be the ally they needed, or another burden on their already strained shoulders? As Jake swung the door open, his heart raced. The early evening chill brushed against his cheeks, a stark contrast to the warmth inside. Standing before him was Mrs. Thompson, her face set in an expression Jake couldn't quite place. Was it concern, hope, or something else? He could feel all of his neighbors' whispers curl tightly around him. "Jake," she began, her voice steady but filled with urgency, "I hope I'm not interrupting anything. I came to talk to you and your dad about what we discussed at the bank." Jake absorbed her words as if they were lifebuoys thrown into a turbulent sea. No. You're not interrupting. Please, come in." He stepped aside, allowing her to enter. The air felt thick with unspoken words as Mrs. Thompson settled herself into the worn-out couch across from Mark. Jake watched his father's posture change as the hope flickered back into his tired eyes. "We don't have a lot of time," she said, glancing hesitantly toward Mark before fixing her gaze back on Jake. "The bank is still reviewing your father's account, but the community has feelings about this, strong feelings. People want to help." Mark shifted uneasily in his chair, skepticism creeping back into his voice. "Help? What does that even mean?" "What it means," Mrs. Thompson pressed, leaning forward, "is that several residents volunteered to form a committee. They want to raise awareness about cases like yours. They feel that nobody should lose their home over old debts, especially someone who has put their life on the line for this community." "But that's not how these things work," Mark countered, his voice strained. "They just see numbers and zeros. They won't care about my service, or anything else." "Numbers can change," Mrs. Thompson replied firmly. "Stories, real stories, can influence people in ways nothing else can. I've seen it happen. We just need your story out there, Mark." Jake's heart raced faster. Hope mingled with anxiety. Was it possible that their small-town community could actually join together to fight for them? Could they rewrite the rules just this once? "He's not the only one with a story," Jake interjected, his voice ringing with unexpected strength. "Everyone has something to share. Maybe if we come together, it won't just be his story, it can be ours." Mark looked at his son, the mixture of surprise and pride mixing with doubt in his gaze. "What do you mean?" "I've been thinking," Jake explained. "Instead of just waiting for the bank to decide our fate, why don't we organize something? A community event. A rally or a fundraiser. We could show the bank and everyone how much support there really is." Mrs. Thompson's eyes lit up. "That's exactly the energy we need, Jake. It's not just about the money, it's about making a stand, showing the heart of this town." As her enthusiasm ignited the room, Mark sat up straighter. His son's idea flared with a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. What if they could overcome? What if something as simple as people caring could actually change their fate? But the doubt still lingered in the back of his mind, nagging at him like a persistent storm cloud. "It won't be easy," he murmured slowly. "It's not supposed to be easy," Mrs. Thompson replied, determination infused in her tone. "But it will be worth it. We'll all come together. You'll see." In that moment, Jake felt the pulse of possibility, a thread weaving hope through their lives. They could be more than just victims, they could choose to fight back. But just when the storm of excitement began to settle in, when it seemed the world was opening up, another knock echoed through the chaos, louder and sharper this time, cutting the moment short. "Who is it now?" Mark whispered, dread creeping back into his voice. Jake glanced towards the door, his heart racing again. Something told him this visitor could change the course of everything again. Jake held his breath as he moved toward the door, his stomach churning with a blend of hope and trepidation. What if this new visitor was the bank manager coming to seal their fate? Or worse, what if it was someone offering more bad news? He grasped the handle, the wood cool against his palm, and opened the door. This time, it wasn't Mrs. Thompson or another concerned neighbor. Standing on the doorstep was someone else entirely, Claire, his childhood friend, the girl he thought he'd lost to the tide of growing up. "Jake, I heard what's happening," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her brown hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and her green eyes searched his, full of concern. "Claire," he was surprised to see her, and a warmth spread inside him at the sight of her. "What are you doing here?" "I want to help," she said, stepping over the threshold, her determination tangible. "I know it's a lot to take in, but I talked to a few people at school, they want to get involved." Mark shifted in his chair, disbelief etched on his face. "Involved how?" he asked, skepticism creeping back. "Raising funds, awareness, anything we can think of," Claire replied, her enthusiasm unwavering. "We can host a benefit concert. The town can come together. I've already made a few calls, people are willing to donate their time, and I think I can get a local band to play." Jake's heart began to race at the possibility. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope sparked within him, brighter than before. A benefit concert? That sounds perfect. We could invite everyone. Get flyers around town, even reach out to some of the businesses. Yes. Claire beamed, her excitement infectious. "It'll be a way to rally everyone, to show the bank and the whole community that we care and that your dad's story matters." Mark's expression softened, a flicker of hope breaking through his doubts. "But we'll need more than just musicians," he said, suddenly alert. "Logistics, permits, and we'll need people to spread the word." "Right. We can form a committee," Jake interjected, his mind racing with possibilities. "Mrs. Thompson will help us get started. We can do callbacks to get more volunteers." As the plan took shape, the room hummed with energy. Jake felt his doubts melting away like frost under the sun. For the first time in a long time, he could see a future unclouded by despair. "Jake!" Mrs. Thompson's voice broke through his reverie. "We need to get moving. If we want this to happen, we cannot waste time. I'll gather the neighborhood. We'll meet tomorrow. Everyone needs to see how serious this is." Everything was happening fast, and the excitement of action propelled them forward. Jake's thoughts raced faster than ever as visions of the concert filled his mind, the faces of his neighbors, the laughter, the unity, each person connected in a shared goal. They started discussing logistics, and ideas flowed around the room. The initial hesitance faded, replaced by plans and giggles. What had started as a desperate situation transformed into a tangible wave of community spirit. Then Jake's phone buzzed on the table, jolting him out of the whirlwind in his head. He snatched it up, glancing at the screen. His heart plummeted. It was a notification from the bank, an alert about a meeting set for the next day, right before the community event. "Guys," Jake said, his heart sinking. "I just got a notification. The bank wants to meet with us tomorrow before the concert." The room fell silent, the weight of the news heavy in the air. "What will we say?" Mark whispered, dread seeping back into his voice. Jake looked around the room, determination hardening his expression. He knew they could face anything together. "We'll tell them our story and we'll show them what our community can really do." As they prepared, excitement intermingled with anxiety. But they all knew this was just the beginning. Tomorrow would be the moment of truth, and everything would change. Would they be ready? Jake's heart thudded in his chest as he faced the clock, counting down the hours to the meeting with the bank. He could hardly sleep, mind replaying every detail of the day as if it were a movie he couldn't pause. Claire had left with a fire in her eyes, while Mark and Mrs. Thompson had been deep in discussions, plotting out the logistics of the concert like a strategic alliance. The morning came too soon, sunlight streaming in through his bedroom window, illuminating fears that had settled in the corners of his mind. What if the bank wasn't willing to listen? What if they turned down Jake's hope before it even had a chance to bloom? He dressed in his best shirt, a faded blue that reminded him of simpler days. Each button he fastened felt like a small victory, but doubt still clawed at him. What if tonight's concert didn't make a difference? What if they failed? His mom appeared in the doorway, her expression softening as she caught his eye. "You'll do great, Jake. Just remember, it's about sharing our story. You have to believe in what you're fighting for." "Thanks, Mom," he replied, trying to muster a smile. Her unwavering support was a balm to his nerves. When they reached the bank, Jake's stomach flipped again. It was a stark building, all glass and steel. He was suddenly conscious of the risk they had taken in this plan, all the weight of their dreams resting on this single meeting. As they stepped into the lobby, a wave of apprehension washed over him. A side door swung open, and an imposing figure strode toward him, the bank manager he'd never met but somehow felt he already knew. "Mr. Thompson?" The manager greeted, his tone clipped and professional. "I see you've brought your team." The word felt mocking. Jake swallowed hard but held his ground, gesturing to Mark and Mrs. Thompson. "Yes, sir. We're here to talk about my dad's account and why we think this community concert can help." "Interesting approach," the manager said, his eyes narrowing slightly as he studied them. "Let us hear it then." The bank's meeting room was sterile, buzzing with the sound of fluorescent lights overhead. They sat across the table from the manager and a few other bank officials, all wearing expressions that suggested they didn't expect these young people to bring anything of substance. Jake cleared his throat, the weight of his family's history heavy on his mind. "We want to save our home, and I know this town cares. We're planning a benefit concert to raise funds and awareness for my dad's business. It matters to us deeply." His hands trembled, but he pressed on, fueled by a fierce determination. He shared stories about his dad, their struggles, and the neighborhood's bond. A flicker of interest crossed the manager's face, but skepticism still loomed large. Caught between hope and uncertainty, Jake took a deep breath, pulling out the handwritten note he'd been carrying, words from his dad that illuminated their fight and dreams. This is what this means to us, he said, letting his voice rise in conviction. It's about community and resilience. The pause that followed felt endless. Then the manager shifted uncomfortably in his seat, glancing at his colleagues. Well, that's quite a story, but before he could finish, the door swung open, and Claire burst in, her cheeks flushed and eyes wide. I just wanted to add something. Time seemed to freeze as everyone turned to her. Jake's heart raced. What had she learned? People are willing to support you, and they matter more than just numbers on a form, she continued passionately. This isn't just about money, it's about people standing together. Jake saw recognition flicker in the manager's eyes, but there was still a long road ahead. Would they be enough to sway the bank, to reveal their hidden strengths? As the conversation danced on a knife's edge, Jake could feel a shift in the air of fragile hope. Yet his heart ached with the weight of looming uncertainty. Could the world really change with just their words? Just then, a knock echoed from the door, and a community face emerged, a neighbor with news that could change everything. What would they discover next? The door creaked open, and Mrs. Linden stepped inside. Her silver hair bobbed as she rushed to the front, a mix of urgency and relief painted across her face. Jake felt both hopeful and anxious. Could she have come to add fuel to their fire? Sorry to interrupt, she said, catching her breath. But I just heard. I think the town council is rallying for your concert. They're excited and want to help. A murmur of surprise cascaded around the room. Jake's eyes widened, taking in the collective expressions of the bank officials. Claire's eyes sparkled with hope, while Mark shifted in his seat, leaning forward. That's amazing news. Jake whispered, almost to himself. But doubt crept in again. But will it be enough? Absolutely, Mrs. Linden replied, her tone firm. They, and so many others, believe in your cause. If the council gets involved, we'll have a real chance. This isn't just about raising money, it's about supporting each other as a community. It's what we do best. Interesting, the bank manager said, raising an eyebrow. And how, exactly, do you plan to raise awareness? It sounds quite ambitious for a concert. People love music. Claire jumped in, taking Jake's cue. Just look at how everyone rallied for the town fair last summer. This concert can ignite passion, bring people together, and ultimately drive donations. Plus, it's not just about funds, it's about showcasing the heart of our community. What we need is a plan, Jake added, the words pouring out as adrenaline surged through him. This was their chance. We'll create a social media push, organize an outreach to local businesses, and involve schools. If the community bands together, the support won't just come from dollars and cents, it'll come from everyone who cares. The manager seemed contemplative, tapping his pen against the table, weighing their words. The silence stretched thin, and Jake could feel the electric tension in the room. I must say, the manager finally replied, your passion is admirable. However, numbers are still at the forefront of our concerns. How can we be assured the concert will generate sufficient interest? Jake felt the weight of stress clawing at him again. His heart raced as he contemplated their next move. We can gather pre-commitments from attendees, sell merchandise, and even live-stream the event. We can show you, quantitatively, how many people are already passionate about making this happen. Mrs. Linden stepped closer, voice warm yet resolute. And I can bring in more stories from neighbors and families who have struggled just like Jake's family. Real faces, real struggles. If you see what's at stake, it'll be undeniable. As numbers and strategies flowed through the room, Jake's spirit soared higher, hope intertwining with nervous energy. He couldn't let this moment pass. He caught Claire's eye, and there was a shared understanding they believed in their vision, and that was their greatest weapon. Let us seize this moment, Jake said, turning back to the manager with newfound determination. Tonight's concert is just the beginning. If they can see how much we've got to lose, surely they see our value. The manager nodded slowly, the air around them charged with possibility. But just as Jake felt the resolve building, the door opened again. This time, it was a familiar face, his father's longtime friend, Sam, entering with a look of urgency. "You won't believe what just happened at the council meeting." Time froze again. The weight of Jake's dreams hung in the balance. What news could Sam possibly have? The room held its breath, waiting for what could be the turning point in their fight. Sam stepped further into the room, his expression sharp with intensity. "I just came from the council meeting, and they've decided to give a formal endorsement for the concert." He let the words hang in the air for a moment, soaking in the surprise and disbelief on their faces. "No way!" Jake exclaimed, barely containing his excitement. Mrs. Linden beamed, her cheeks flushing with joy. "That's exactly what we needed. This changes everything." The bank manager's demeanor shifted, now leaning back in his chair, arms crossed but with a flicker of intrigue in his eyes. "An endorsement is a significant step. But what does that actually mean for your project?" Sam straightened, his voice brimming with conviction. "It means the council will promote the concert. They'll help distribute flyers, feature it in local newsletters, and even mention it in town meetings. They believe this concert has the power to unite the community." Jake felt something shift within him, a surge of adrenaline washing away the lingering doubt. "This is incredible. We can leverage this to reach everyone," he said, his mind racing. "We won't just be another event on the calendar, will be the event everyone's talking about." Claire exchanged an excited look with Jake, her eyes sparkling with possibility. "We need to start organizing. We can set up a committee with local volunteers, develop a calendar for promotion, and even reach out to local artists to perform. The more involvement, the better." "Right," Jake nodded fiercely, jumping up from his seat. He felt unstoppable. "Let's get the local businesses involved too. They can sponsor us, donate goods, or provide venues. What if we got food trucks involved? People love good food with their music." "Excellent ideas," Sam encouraged. "And let's not forget about using social media to its full potential. You all have followers. If each of you shares the updates, we can create a buzz that'll stretch beyond this town." A nervous energy buzzed in the room, and they quickly brainstormed ideas, each suggestion igniting more enthusiasm. Jake felt the weight of the world shift, like a door finally bursting open after months of waiting. Suddenly, Mark, the bank manager, cleared his throat, pulling everyone's attention back to him. "While this is promising, understand that endorsements can be fickle. If we move forward, I'll still need concrete plans and a budget. How do you plan to ensure costs remain under control?" Jake's heart skipped a beat, but he held firm, meeting the manager's gaze. "We'll create a detailed budget and break down expected expenses. I promise we'll put in the work to secure that funding. We'll have a plan that leaves no room for doubt." Just then, a thought crossed Jake's mind, one he could hardly contain. What if we reached out to the local schools for students to perform? It would not only elevate the stakes but also encourage families to attend. Maybe we can host talent auditions for them. "That's brilliant!" Claire exclaimed. "It would give them a sense of ownership and make this concert a true community event. Imagine their families coming out to support them, more people, more donations." As the conversation deepened, a mix of adrenaline and fear surged through Jake. Could they really pull this off? What if everything they were trying to achieve still fell short? Sam noticed Jake's hesitation and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Remember, Jake, this whole town is behind you now. Their hopes rest on your shoulders. You're not alone in this." Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was willing to face them. The safety of his family, of everyone he loved, was worth every ounce of effort. But just as they began mapping out their next steps, an unexpected knock interrupted their focus. The room tensed again. Who could that be? Claire wondered aloud, her brow furrowing with concern. Jake's heart raced as the door swung open and in walked the mayor himself, a serious expression etched across his face. I need to speak with you all about something urgent regarding the concert. The air turned heavy. What kind of urgency was behind his visit? The mayor stepped inside, his posture rigid, the weight of authority evident. Everyone in the room turned toward him, expressions shifting from excitement to caution. Sam lowered his voice, a sudden tension filling the air. What is going on, Mayor? The mayor took a moment, surveying the group. I appreciate the enthusiasm for the concert, but there are some logistical issues we need to address. We've received some complaints from residents, and it's vital we discuss them before proceeding. Jake felt his stomach drop. Complaints? Just as they were building momentum? What complaints? He asked, trying to sound composed. The neighbors near the proposed venue are concerned about noise levels, the mayor replied, his tone firm. They fear it will disrupt their lives, especially if it goes into the late hours. I need to know how you plan to handle this. Claire crossed her arms, visibly agitated. But this concert is meant to bring everyone together. It's a celebration for the whole town. I understand that, the mayor replied, still steady. But we have to balance celebration with community integrity. If we can't address these concerns, we risk not only the concert but also future community projects. We can't afford that. Sam nodded, looking serious. Maybe we can work out a solution. What if we kept the concert to earlier hours and provided sound barriers? We could even offer an open forum for local residents to voice their concerns and get on board with the initiative. The mayor seemed to consider this but remained cautious. That could work, but you'll need to move quickly. The council doesn't have much time to review this. If the complaints escalate, it could derail everything. The word stung like a sharp jab. Jake's mind was racing. What if the concert fell apart before it even began? He could already picture the muffled disappointment on his family's faces. We'll handle it, he asserted, though uncertainty gnawed at the edges of his confidence. Mark, the bank manager, chimed in again. You'll need a detailed plan. I suggest working closely with the mayor's office and the community. This may require some compromises, but if you manage them well, you could end up with even more support. Right, Claire interjected, her voice steadying. Let us devise a community outreach strategy. We can set up a meeting to invite everyone, listen to their concerns, and share our vision. That way, we can foster collaboration instead of resistance. As the conversation picked up speed again, Jake's heart began to race with renewed purpose. He envisioned the concert, a night lit up with laughter, music echoed from every corner, families coming together, joy permeating the air. They could do this. They had to, but just as the room buzzed with ideas and plans, the sharp sound of a phone vibrating broke the concentration. Jake's heart raced. It was his mom, calling. He glanced at the screen, and a sinking feeling filled him. Why would she be calling now? I'm sorry, I need to take this, Jake said, stepping out of the room. The nervousness in his stomach twisted tighter. Jake, where are you? His mom's voice crackled through, filled with tension. He swallowed. At the meeting, Mom. What's wrong? There's something important I need to tell you about the concert, something I never wanted you to find out. Jake's breath hitched at her tone, the urgency, the worry. What is it? I can't talk here. It's about the venue and a mistake I've made. You need to come home. His heart raced. What mistake? What were the implications? A shiver of dread slid down his spine. He needed to know, but this moment felt crucial. I'll be right there, he replied, a dread creeping into his voice. When he re-entered the room, everyone was still immersed in planning. There was a flicker of determination on their faces, but something deep inside Jake felt different. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something much bigger than a concert. What just happened? Claire looked concerned, sensing the shift. Something I need to figure out. Jake's reply was tense, uncertainty tightening around him like a noose. He had no idea that the urgency of the mayor's message was only the beginning. Because as he left to find answers, little did he know, everything was about to change. Jake hurried down the hall, the sound of the meeting fading behind him. He felt a knot form in his throat. His mom's voice rang in his ears, echoing with concern. What kind of mistake could she have made regarding the concert? The more he thought about it, the heavier the dread felt inside him. He reached his car and fumbled with the keys, heart racing. He couldn't focus on the road as his mind swirled with possibilities. Was it about the venue? Had she made some wrong move that would ruin everything? He gripped the steering wheel tight, willing himself to remain calm. The familiar streets flew by as he pulled into his driveway. The front porch was cluttered with remnants of the day's activities: a couple of outdoor chairs, an errant ball from a neighborhood kid, and the forgotten newspaper from earlier that morning. None of it mattered now. All he could think about was his mom. He entered the house and found her pacing nervously in the living room. Her face was tense, eyes wide. Anxiety washed over him, and he felt a surge of protective instinct. "Mom, what's going on?" he said, causing her to stop and turn toward him. "I didn't want you to find out this way," she began, her voice trembling. "I thought I could handle it without you worrying, but it's too late to hide now." Jake felt a chill. The weight of her words sank in. "Please just tell me. You remember the old hardware store that was supposed to be torn down for the concert venue?" She hesitated, swallowing hard. "The property was not completely bought out. I was involved in the negotiations. I thought everything was settled," but she took a deep breath, looking guilty. "There was a last-minute deal that I didn't disclose to you. We may not have full rights to that land." His mind raced. "What? How could you not tell me this before? This changes everything." "I know, and I regret it. I thought I could work it out quietly. But if the owners discover we're planning this concert, they could stop it, or worse, there could be legal issues." She looked away, her hands wringing together. "I'm so sorry, Jake." The floor fell out from beneath him. Panic gripped him. This was bigger than he thought. He remembered the mayor's concerns and the weight of the meeting earlier. This mistake could make everything unravel. But there had to be a way out. "We need a plan, Mom," he said, his voice steadying. "If we can reach out to the owners, maybe we can negotiate. Tell them how important this is for the community." His mom nodded, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "You're right. We should contact them immediately and explain." Suddenly, there was a loud knock at the door, interrupting their thoughts. Jake's heart thudded in his chest. Who could that be? He wondered aloud. His mom glanced toward the door, eyes wide. "I don't know." Jake felt the dread return, but he knew they had to face whatever came next. He squared his shoulders and opened the door. The sun illuminated the figure standing there, a familiar face, but it was everything that came with it that sent a jolt of fear running through him. "What are you doing here?" Jake asked, feeling the ground shift beneath him once again. "I heard about the concert plans, and the trouble you're in," the person said, their voice flat as they stepped forward. "We need to talk." And just like that, with each reeling word, Jake felt the walls close in. What had he walked into? What secrets were about to unravel? This couldn't be good. With uncertainty tightening around him, Jake knew he had to figure this out fast. The stakes were higher than he ever imagined. Jake's heart raced as he stood in front of the newcomer, the air thick with tension. It was Ryan, a boy from school who had once been a friend. His cold demeanor felt like a slap in the face. "What do you want, Ryan?" Jake asked, bracing himself for whatever heavy confrontation came next. I came to warn you, Ryan said, his voice lower. About the concert. It's not just about noise complaints. He hesitated, gauging Jake's reaction, then added, people are talking. Some are planning to protest if it goes through. What? Why? Jake felt anger and disbelief swirl together. This concert is for the whole community. It's to help my dad. Ryan shrugged. You know how people are. They think it's going to disrupt their lives or inconvenience them. You might be stirring up more trouble than you realize. Jake clenched his fists, frustration bubbling over. You're saying we shouldn't even try? After everything we've been through? A chorus of emotions threatened to spill over. This concert might be the only hope for his family, and he couldn't let fear turn it into ashes. Look, Ryan said, his tone softening slightly, I just thought you should know. I can help you, but you need to be real about this. People have their limits. This town used to love your dad. It's about more than just numbers or news. There's a lot of history here. Your family means something to them. Jake paused, the weight of those words settling in. Ryan was right, their family had been a cornerstone of this town. Yet, could past ties hold the community stable in the wake of their struggles? He had to believe so. Thanks for the heads up, Jake said, his voice steadier now. We'll work on a solution. I won't give up. Jake turned back to his mom, who stood near the doorway, watching with worry etched on her features. Mom, we need to make our voice heard before they're drowned out by fear. We need to meet with the town council and reassure them. If we can show everyone how much support there is, we can turn this around. His mom nodded, determination kindling in her eyes. Okay, Jake, let's rally whoever we can. We need to show them that the concert isn't just noise, it's a lifeline. In that moment, Jake felt a spark ignite within him, a reminder that they weren't alone in this. The support of friends, neighbors, and even the chance of reconciliation with Ryan could change everything. As the afternoon light poured through the window, Jake's mobile buzzed on the table, a crowd of messages lighting up the screen. They were from Claire and Mrs. Thompson, people ready to rally together and join the fight. The community was coming alive around him, just as they always had when times were tough. We need a plan, he said, diving into the sea of text messages and suggestions. They gathered allies and prepared their case to the council. That night, he stayed up, typing speeches, designing flyers, and sending invites. He could already see the faces of his neighbors engaging. Those that had walked by without a second glance now wanted to get involved, their stories weaved into this shared purpose. The concert was more than a fundraiser now, it was a movement. The rallying cry echoed in his mind as he strategized and visualized, this time, they wouldn't stand alone. Finally, evening came. The auditorium buzzed with excitement, neighbors finding their seats, laughter mixing with nervous whispers, a palpable electricity in the air. Outside, supporters stood, holding handmade signs that said "Save the Thompsons" and "Community United." As Claire adjusted the microphone, her eyes met Jake's, sparking a warmth of connection, a feeling that together they could conquer anything. He felt hope swell inside him, wrapping around fear like a protective shield. Welcome everyone to the concert, raising funds for not only the Thompson family, Claire began, but for the soul of our community. The crowd erupted, enthusiastic cheers filling the space, igniting energy in every corner. Jake took a deep breath, ready to seize the moment. As he stepped onto the stage, he felt all eyes on him. This was his chance to speak from the heart. Tonight isn't just about our fight for my family, it's about all of us coming together, understanding each other, and saving what matters most, our community. The crowd roared, the momentum building, and in that moment, everything began to shift. Jake could see the true heart of the town on fire, fueled by energy, passion, and the sheer will to thrive together. As the evening unfolded, there were performances, stories shared, and laughter amidst the tears. The line between the past and present blurred, connections were rekindled, and the undeniable truth emerged: they were stronger together than apart. Jake felt something change in the air, a unity, a coming together, a loud and clear message to the world. Hope bloomed brighter than ever before, as bills faded against the strength of unwavering support. That night marked a turning point, not just for the Thompsons but for a community that rediscovered its heartbeat. As the final note echoed and the applause thundered, Jake and his father exchanged a look, the kind that spoke volumes of love, gratitude, and resilience. They weren't only standing in the face of hardship, they were building the future. As they held on to that moment of triumph, Jake knew this was just the beginning. The concert had united them, reinstating the faith that lay coiled tight and dormant until now. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, supported by friends, fueled by love, and with the spirit of community tucked snugly in their hearts. Now, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment for you to step up. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know the power of community.